Daring, quick, gifted, and always entertaining. Romain Grosjean is one of the most exciting drivers to have graced the Formula One circuit in recent years. And despite never racing for a team that could realistically challenge for the championship, the French-Swiss driver had plenty of memorable moments. P6 on the grid, P6 at the checkered flag. You'd be forgiven for thinking Grosjean's 2018 German Grand Prix was a simple affair. Far from it. In a rain-affected race which saw long-time race leader Sebastian Vettel falling foul of the slippery surface and beaching against the barriers, Grosjean pitted under the resultant safety car and was sitting P10 as the race restarted. He then displayed all his guile and tenacity as he worked his way back through the midfield, firstly getting past Brendan Hartley's Toro Rosso, then harrying the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson, edging ever closer before pouncing. And then in the Grand Prix's dying minutes, he slipped past Esteban Ocon, then Sergio Perez in the second Force India. A terrific last-gasp recovery in tricky conditions, perfectly demonstrating Grosjean's never-say-die attitude. Grosjean had made his F1 debut in 2009 for Renault, but their car that year wasn't one that could genuinely compete. During a hiatus, the Frenchman won the GP2 championship in 2011 and then returned to Formula One with his old team, now under the Lotus name, alongside the vastly experienced 2007 world champion Kimi Raikkonen. If that seemed an intimidating prospect, Grosjean showed no signs of it, qualifying P3 on his second F1 debut in Melbourne. But he came of age at round 4 in Bahrain as he made a magnificent start, passing Daniel Ricciardo, Nico Rosberg and Jenson Button by turn 1, before squeezing out Fernando Alonso to slot into P4 behind Mark Webber's Red Bull. But the Australian wasn't safe for long, as the Lotus's power combined with a bit of Grosjean's smarts saw the Frenchman round the outside and into third. Not content with that, Grosjean pulled off a sensational pass on the McLaren of Lewis Hamilton.
Romain Grosjean swoops past Lewis Hamilton into second place.
But with his Finnish colleague close behind, team orders came into play, and Grosjean allowed Raikkonen through to challenge the runaway race leader, Sebastian Vettel. Ultimately, they were unable to catch the then two-time world champion, but Lotus were nonetheless overjoyed with their first double podium, and Grosjean was in the big time.
I think I will be delighted tonight. Very, very happy to be on my first podium. It's quite a good feeling, I have to say.
In 2016, Grosjean joined the newly formed Haas Formula One team. With Ferrari power in their Dallara chassis and former Jaguar and Red Bull technical director Gunther Steiner at the helm, the team's pioneering low-cost model ruffled a few establishment feathers. At the season opener in Melbourne, the upstart outfit's drivers had mixed fortunes. Grosjean's teammate Esteban Gutierrez and the McLaren of Fernando Alonso were involved in one of Formula One's most dramatic crashes, causing the race to be red flagged. Thankfully, both drivers walked away from the wreckage unscathed. But the team would go from heartache to absolute joy, as Grosjean came home in a magnificent 6th, earning his team a points finish on their F1 debut.
This is a win for us! This is a win! Unbelievable for everyone! Unbelievable! I don't even know where we finished. Unbelievable!
Here we are, P6 at the end. They made it possible and this is incredible.
And in just his second race for Haas, Grosjean produced a move that reminded everyone of the talent and tenacity that had stood him in such good stead in his years with Lotus. Taking his second pit stop of the 2016 Bahrain Grand Prix, a problem with the left rear cost him valuable time and places. Exiting the pits in P8, Grosjean was on the attack.
Romain Grosjean gains an awful lot of ground behind the Williams quite nicely and goes into turn 1 on the outside, under braking, into turn 2 now, very nicely indeed.
Grosjean came home 5th, his best result of the season, and Haas became the most successful brand new F1 team on debut since Shadow in 1973.
This is a massive reward. This is unbelievable for us and I think, it's real.
As the 2013 season drew to a close, Grosjean's teammate Kimi Raikkonen was Ferrari bound, and with back surgery a priority, left Lotus just before the race in Austin, elevating fellow Finn Heikki Kovalainen to a race seat beside the Frenchman. Grosjean was now team leader and qualified third behind the dominant Red Bulls of Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber. He got off to another great start, and as the cars climbed the hill to turn 1, he edged ahead of Webber as they exited the corner, and then defended well against a charging Lewis Hamilton.
Vettel leads, Grosjean slots into second place, coming around the outside, Lewis Hamilton now challenges Mark Webber as well, and Hamilton puts himself up into third.
And as the race entered its final minutes, Grosjean held off Webber's attempts to retake his position, and came home in a well-deserved second place. In a season where Red Bull dominated, splitting the team's two drivers was no mean feat. In 2018, Haas had secured their best ever qualifying result at the season opener in Melbourne, with Kevin Magnussen P5 and Grosjean P6 on the grid. And the team were confident their package was one that could genuinely convert their pace into big points on Sunday. But in 2 brief moments, their whole weekend fell apart. After a routine pit stop, Magnussen, who'd been running 4th, was forced to pull over when he realised his left rear wheel wasn't secure, ending his race. But worse was to come, as the same problem befell Grosjean 2 laps later.
Hang on, we've got another
not
problem.
another one, surely not. What is happening down at Haas this afternoon has turned into absolute disaster.
Despite their obvious disappointment, the whole team showed fantastic spirit, with Romain consoling members of the crew who were clearly devastated, showing the empathy and leadership that proved he'd become much more than just a fast racing driver.
Today we've lost a lot of points. I'm sure we're going to come back stronger, and we always bounce back.
For many Formula One drivers, their best moments are over in the blink of an eye, with breakneck speeds and split-second decisions the name of the game. And Grosjean's pass on Lewis Hamilton at the 2012 European Grand Prix on the streets of Valencia was one such moment. Fighting for second position, he was tucked under the wing of Lewis Hamilton's McLaren before performing a pass so perfect the Briton had no answer.
He's going to try and find his way around the outside. They're wheel to wheel. Hamilton with the inside line, but now the advantage swings to Grosjean, and he has made it up into second place. Wonderfully committed move from Romain Grosjean. That was a joy to see.
It was a real racer's move, and though Grosjean's Grand Prix would end in retirement, it was a moment that will live long in the memory. Consistently outperforming the limits of his Lotus in 2015, Grosjean had qualified a superb P4 in Belgium, but a gearbox change relegated him to 9th on the grid. But determination, tactical nous and some incredible moves saw him claw back places until he was running 4th and hounding 3rd place Sebastian Vettel. And Grosjean's aggression paid off when Vettel's right rear tyre gave way.
Oh, what's happened there? A tyre's blown on Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari.
Paving the way for his first podium since the United States Grand Prix 2 years earlier.
Fantastic job, mate. Fantastic job. P3, well done, well done. That was incredible. One of the best races of your career, mate. Incredible. Incredible. I'm so proud.
Well done, you're a star. You're a superstar.
Fantastic. Well done, mate.
Although he would never win a Formula One Grand Prix, and thus never realised the potential of the talent many ascribed to him, he came agonisingly close at the German Grand Prix in 2013. High temperatures at the Nürburgring suited the Lotuses, and Grosjean took full advantage, making his way through the top of the field until he had just race leader Vettel in his sights. But team orders would come into play.
Okay, Roman, Kimi behind is on option tyre and he's very fast, so do not hold him up.
With both cars having pitted 3 times, the racer in Grosjean would have felt aggrieved. But the gentleman in him understood that Raikkonen was on slightly fresher rubber, and he took one for the team, letting the Finn fly past. Ultimately, neither Lotus could catch Vettel on his way to a first home Grand Prix victory, but no one could deny that Grosjean had all the skills needed to be a Formula One winner. Racing drivers love a challenge, and when you start a Grand Prix back in 17th spot on the grid, there's very little to lose, and everything to play for. And at the 2013 Indian Grand Prix, Romain Grosjean made one of the greatest recovery drives of his career, and this time he didn't have to give up any places to his teammate. Working his way through the field, he'd been able to run long on his soft tyres at the start of the race, and made the mediums last longer than teammate Raikkonen, whom he caught and passed for third place in the closing stages. The Iceman tried to hold on to his position, but Grosjean would not be denied, and his expert tyre management paid off to earn him a 5th podium finish of the season, as Sebastian Vettel claimed a 4th World Championship. But the star of the race was Grosjean, whose performance gave proof once again of a pure racing talent that ranks among the very best in the most competitive era of Formula One history.